Okay, so we were talking about Martian Manhunter. Again, one of my favorite characters in DC, the DC universe. And I was going to talk about what I would do as a film, of him. It could be something that leads into the Justice League, or it could just be a one-off film in and of itself, actually, within its own kind of world. But one of the complaints I have about Hollywood, and I'm seriously astounded by this, and if anybody can show me anything different, please do. But I don't think, as of yet, Hollywood has really, really, really dealt with the idea properly of what it would be like to encounter an alien civilization. What it really, I mean, maybe you could say Star Trek has some of that, but in terms of encountering it for the first time and what that would mean to human beings, and what might happen, in terms of government cover-ups and stuff along those lines. Now, a film I really, really liked was I really liked a film called I think it's called Encounter or something. It's starring Jodie Foster. Damn, what is it called? It's a film starring Jodie Foster where she basically is a scientist who gets a signal from outer space. So a lot of the film I'm going to, the Martian Manhunter film is going to, has some, how would I say, it's somewhat influenced by that kind of take. It was like kind of an attempt at what would it really be like, to receive a signal from an alien civilization. And I thought that was a really interesting take, except I think the movie was ruined by the end, by what they did with it. So, just to say, like, my opening shot for this movie would be where, just to, emphasize, something really interesting, a really kind of alien civilization. So it would be, we're presented with a galaxy much like our own, but it has two stars at its center, so two suns at its center rather than one. We then enter into that world, and we kind of see that it has its own. Sorry, we enter into one of the planets of that, orbiting these two suns, and we see that it's the fourth planet along, and it has an ecosystem of its own, a really developed ecosystem of its own. We then follow two different types of alien creatures, ones that are white and ones that are green, and the ones that are white, the white aliens, humanoid like aliens, find themselves in a very, very hostile environment, and the ones that are green find themselves in a slightly more Earth-like environment, slightly more hospitable to life. And what I'd like to do actually in this scene is very much take from 2001: A Space Odyssey and look at two separate kind of alien civilizations, in the beginning of their evolution. This could have been millions and millions of years ago, before there was even life on Earth. And you're looking at the beginnings of the evolution of two humanoid life forms, intelligent life forms. We end with some kind of scene of one of them, much like in 2001: A Space Odyssey, the discovery of something of fire or something like that, and therefore they, once they figured that out, it's like that Promethean leap into, stealing fire from the gods and becoming an intelligent species. So there we have like a kind of idea of, the tone I would take of it. It's a very, very kind of realistic idea of what an alien civilization will be like. Now, this is one of the changes that you might disagree with how I would take the Martian Manhunter mythology. I would not have him be from Mars. I would have it be that his starship crash lands on Mars, which forces the human race, when we find a signal coming from this spaceship, to do the first manned trip or journey to Mars, to figure out what this signal is. And the signal and everything, the kind of commotion it causes on Earth in terms of governments trying to cover up that there even is a signal, and that there's anything out there, it will be interesting to just kind of explore briefly. Dr. Erdel, who is a character who I talked about in part 1 of this, well, obviously, he is going to be a scientist at SETI, which is it's an American scientific group that search for extraterrestrial life. They're kind of based out of New Mexico and have a lot of radio telescopes to actually pick up signals from other regions of space that could only be sent by intelligent life. So in any case, there's a signal set off by something that is on Mars, and we do not know what it is, and we do a manned trip to Mars, and there is where we discover a spaceship, and its contents is apart from being completely alien in weird ways, like just something you could never imagine in terms of what the spaceship is like inside, but also we discover that there is an alien in there that is in suspended animation, that he's in a machine that is that puts him in suspended animation. So there we go. We have the kind of set up for our film about Martian Manhunter. Okay. Now, as I'm going to be giving you some scenes from the film to show you what I kind of like would have Martian Manhunter be like, and the relationship between Dr. Erdel and himself and stuff like that, and the kind of governmental conspiracies that go on around this spaceship being found. I'm not going to go in too much about that right now, but what I want to talk about is, why I think it would be better that, Martian Manhunter, could work in terms of, not being from Mars, not Dr. Erdel finding, doing some interdimensional machine that somehow brings John Jones from the past to our time. I think that's a rather kind of a story that just wouldn't fit into our age, but I think that is also not the most essential part of the Martian Manhunter story. The most essential part of the Martian Manhunter story is the complete destruction of his whole race. Now, the way I would handle that is that he is brought back from Mars by by us, to Earth, and the machine that keeps him in suspended animation is studied. There's an debate over whether he should be dissected or whether they should try and release him and see if he could survive within our environment, and that we can kind of try and ask him some questions about, you know, where he comes from and everything like that. Because up until this moment, Dr. Erdel is the only one who's actually arguing that this cat, you know, isn't actually from Mars. Obviously he's not from Mars. He's somehow crash landed on Mars, and the signal that was sent out was an automatic signal that was sent out by the spaceship as a distress signal. So that's what we, you know, that's the debate that's going on. Now, Dr. Erdel spends a lot of time, you know, studying this machine and studying, you know, through electroradiographs, the alien being. Let's just call him John Jones, because we know he's John Jones for now. So he's discovering, he's basically studying the kind of anatomy of this kind of alien, you know, studying everything about his biology, and during his studies, he starts having these nightmares. And these nightmares that, you know, he goes back home to his wife and his kid, and he begins having these bizarre nightmares about an alien world under attack, and this mass kind of genocide that happens in this alien world. And the first images are, you know, of John Jones, his daughter and his wife at home, in kind of like medievalish kind of like castle. They come out onto well, not castle but house, but they come out onto their balcony and they're looking up to the two suns in the sky, and then out of nowhere, like, you see a kind of like alien version of a mushroom cloud, which is more like a spherical purple blaze that just explodes on another, you know, you see from a far off distance part of the planet, and an alien armada of ships enters into their atmosphere, and then we cut out, and Dr. Erdel wakes up. The next dream he has is, you know, he sees through some kind of containment unit. There's an open glass, and he sees, you know, his the wife of John Jones, who he doesn't understand. It's the wife of John Jones. He just is in this dream, and he's seeing things from John Jones's perspective, and he basically sees this. He sees his wife, or this alien woman, female creature, in this containment unit, and she puts her hand to the glass, you know, and we reach out from our point of view and put our hand to the glass as well, and just as we do that, she just a kind of light engulfs the space, like a kind of purple light engulfs the space, and it's clear that she's just been eradicated, destroyed. Now, Dr. Erdel is trying to figure out why he's having these dreams, and what he realizes is that this alien being that is in suspended animation has some kind of telepathic abilities, and it's his telepathic abilities, even though he's in a state of suspended animation, are working on a subconscious level. And because of Erdel working at such close proximity with the alien, he's beginning to share this alien's dreams. And what he's discovering is that there is this alien civilization who have come and completely destroyed, you know, he's trying to interpret this weird information that he's getting, and all he knows is that there is this alien civilization who has come and decimated this guy's planet, and he figures out that these guys have to be in range of Earth or be able to get to Earth, because how then would John Jones have got to Earth? So he sets up a meeting saying, we have to take this guy out of suspended animation and we have to figure out what's going on. And he tries to explain to the American government that he thinks that this alien is capable of telepathy. They will think he's crazy, etc., etc., etc. And that is kind of like the setup of the film. So that he's now taking John Jones out of suspended animation, convincing them that for the national security of the Earth, they need to figure out why he's having these dreams and if it's connected to John Jones having some kind of telepathic ability. And the whole of this telepathic ability is actually kind of explained by me through the kind of evolutionary process of these particular John Jones's species. But I won't go too much into that. I might leave that in the article for you to look over. But in any case, this is how the film starts, and it's really about the kind of relationship as it grows between Dr. Erdell and John Jones, who then begins to fill in, once he comes out of suspended animation and uses his telepathy to figure out 5 of human languages, even though he doesn't speak them that well. To kind of explain, it then goes back and skips to, his story and the story of his people being completely annihilated by these, these white aliens. These, I call them the Parallax. And he, because as I said, I talk a lot about the kind of evolution of these. I like to look at the kind of like scientific ideas and how what would if there were an alien species who were telepathic, why would they be telepathic first? Is there a reason in their evolution that they'll be telepathic? So that's kind of looked into and explored and explained, and I'll put that in the article. And also. I kind of veered away from this notion that, I wanted to change it a bit from like the Superman idea of John Jones being from, highly advanced alien species, because they're always from Kryptonians, Vanagarians, all of them are from these highly, advanced alien civilizations. And I thought maybe, if you had telepathy and other powers like that, and telekinesis and stuff like that, perhaps it would actually stall advancement in technology. You'd have so much available to you, so much that you can do, and the peace that you would have in terms of the communication and openness of such a society might actually mean that such things don't actually come in, like the ideas of technology don't come into being, and it's then that they are invaded by a highly technological society that is within their star system, that comes from a planet that is far more hostile in its environment. It's the planet that is just closer to these 2 suns. So you can imagine a star system with 2 suns, and you've got the 4th planet along, which is just within that safety region. That like Earth is, being the 3rd planet along. Of just being in that safety region of where life can develop. And this other planet that is just a bit closer, they're in a much more hostile part, and have to develop in a much more hostile and resource, in terms of the resources, the scant resources that they have. they're in a far more hostile orbit, and therefore they evolve in a different way and become highly technological, and then they end up invading, this other society. So, as I said, that is the setup, and I'd love to talk about what you guys think, and if you can read some of the scenes and see what my approach is, and if you think it strays away from the character, or if you think it enhances the mythology of the Martian Manhunter. So, thank you.